I'm going to tell you just a little bit about myself. I've been in clinical research for several decades. I hate to say that out loud, but I started out in academia as a coordinator and worked in the New York City area, actually in academic institutions, for about 23 years. And then I transitioned to industry and held various positions, studied, well, first as a monitor, then as a study manager, and had quality roles, and now for the last, I'd say, 6 years now, been doing independent consulting and mostly training, so my first love. So basically, I'm coming to you with experience from both sides of the fence, so to speak. There's the bio, which you can read at your convenience. Okay. I can't see you, but that's me. Okay, today what we're going to try to cover is taking a look at the major and critical inspection findings related to informed consent procedure. So I've really kind of tried to fine-tune, and again, my examples are going to be all from the FDA because the FDA, their warning letters are basically open access. They're posted on their website. When we get to the European, I can give you, and Canadian, I can give you some stats in terms of what's come up, but I don't have any real examples because of the privacy laws in those countries. So those warning letters and those notices are not really publicly available. But I will give you stats and more information if you need to find more information about any of those particular agencies. Okay, we're also going to discuss how to prevent these major and critical inspection findings related specifically to the informed consent procedure, and also how we can implement right corrective actions to resolve. Again, we're focusing on the major and critical inspection findings, not those little minor mistakes that are, human error type of thing. So we're going to start off first by taking a look at the most common clinical investigator deficiencies according to the FDA. This list and the order in which you see it has not changed in 8 years. Many years ago, informed consent used to be #1 finding in terms of problems when the FDA came a-calling. We're getting better with informed consent. It's now down to number 6, but we're still not perfect. But the #1 finding now is that we're not really following directions. We don't follow the protocol. So failure to follow the investigational plan is #1. So as I say, we're going to really focus on this number 6 here, which has to do with all sorts of issues involved with informed consent and human subject protection. Here's the first sample for you. Knowledge check again. You can just write in the symbol, click on the symbol. What is the most frequent FDA inspection finding? And all you need to do is click the symbol. Right, failure to follow the investigational plan. We want to make sure you're paying attention. Absolutely. Okay, great. So why do we have non-compliance? So possible reasons usually are lack of time, meaning that we don't have enough resource. People are rushed. They have either too many protocols they're working on, too many things going on to really focus the time needed on the task at hand. Lack of training. We may have new people starting and not an adequate procedure in place. We may not have SOPs in place. Now we know sites are not mandated to have SOPs, standard operating procedures, although it's highly desirable. And I always recommend that if sites do not have SOPs, that they at least have 2 SOPs. One for informed consent process and another for drug accountability. Now, does your site have SOPs? Or
yes,
not that you need to have them? You do, perfect, okay. So that also helps in terms of when you have the training, it gives you something to kind of work with in terms of training new folks as they come on board. So that should help alleviate some of that issue in terms of having new people and having people trained in every which way or not trained at all, and kind of learning by the seat of their pants, which is how a lot of us got into clinical research, and I'm sure some of you did too as well. Staff turnover, another big problem, and staff turnover is a problem across the board. It's not only at sites, but it's also in industry. I'm sure that you've had a whole slew of monitors. If you've had a trial that goes on for more than a year, I'm sure you've had several monitors, and there's turnover. There's turnover on both sides. And this is another reason that we might have noncompliance, again, with people leaving an institution and then having someone new come in and not really picking up the thread appropriately. And then the other piece here is another, I guess, bigger piece and fits into a little bit different scenario. Pressure from either the sponsor or the PI to enroll. And, sometimes when you have pressure from the sponsor, you said you were going to get 20 subjects in 3 months. You've only gotten in 2, and there's that pressure. Maybe it's the pressure from the PI saying, well, what are we doing here? Why aren't we enrolling more subjects? Why aren't we screening more subjects? Sometimes what happens is that inclusion-exclusion criteria gets a little fuzzy, and that's where we have that noncompliance with the protocol. But then we wonder about also informed consent process. Are we rushing through that? So again, we take a look at all of these pieces, and hopefully we don't have any of these within our working environment. But these are kind of I'd say the big buckets in terms of where we find why we have noncompliance.